So yesterday I was talking about map making, and I mentioned np-complete. And one of the aspects of that, which you can see in the 3-color problem, is that generally the idea is that an MP problem is easy to verify a solution, but it's hard to come up with a solution. So clearly you can take a pretty quick look at a map that is proven to be colored with 3 colors and tell that it is. And you can do that a lot faster than you can find whether there is a solution to that map. And so, man, that uphill with the heavy backpack, I'm making excuses. All right. Anyway, so I was thinking about this in relationship with art, and particularly modern art. So in that situation, a lot of times you'll have a situation like Jackson Pollock. When someone sees a Pollock now, they might say something like, "Oh, my cat could do that," or "My 5-year-old could do that." But what I think that neglects is that kind of that inspiration is to do something different and something new is a lot more challenging than maybe people recognize. And so there's a difference between kind of the realism of art and other aspects. And I was thinking about that in other terms of arts. So when I read Voltaire and I heard that he was like, really fighting against the church, and that, his writing, he was a heretic and all these things. And then when I read Voltaire, I was like, that's not so bad. Like, those are things I would ask, or that I would point out. But that neglects kind of the shift of what's reasonable and what's rational that happened because of works like that were totally different at the time, or a severe change from the common sense. And we might even see things like the terms that Shakespeare coined, or the phrases that have become popular and become cliche, that if I were to use it now, it would feel cheap and feel cliche. But when he used it, it was some sort of innovation. And I think sometimes we get lost in that idea of, like, when we're looking back at something. I mean, this happens for film a lot when there are. Unless you're a film student, probably most of us don't. At least films that we hadn't seen as a child, right? There's the nostalgia of seeing an old film that you have some connection with from childhood. But talking about an old film, we know that the storytelling is different. Clearly, the effects are different, and so sometimes we might feel like that's maybe not as enjoyable to watch. But those kind of huge innovations at the time don't feel huge to us from this point of
view. That could happen to your show. I said the greatest thing that could happen to my show is that a kid watches something on whatever the equivalent of YouTube is 75 years from now and goes, "Why is this funny? I don't understand this."
From this perspective. And I think especially in the art world, there's some sense of, like, when modern art is trying to challenge the accepted, then are we being duped, right? Is someone putting a trash bag somewhere in an art gallery and calling it art, and they're not really inspired, and they're not they have no expertise or their execution is not, some standard. And that's tricky because we think, oh, maybe we're being tricked, maybe we're being duped, maybe we're going to say something's great when it's really just trash. And I think that's hard because as our sense, what's common sense gets challenged, it looks like nonsense. And so that just got me thinking. So I'm here, and so I'm going to sign off.